Hello. So, Diluc. Yes, this is the man right here, in all his glory. And you see that giant claymore he's holding? That is the goal. For the template, I was told to make it life-size, and so I based it off of my height since I'm not very tall. And so I just took my height in inches, divided it by the length of a normal size piece of paper, and stretched out an image of the claymore onto all the pages in Illustrator. So now that I have a template, I'm just gonna cut out the pieces, but first I have to cut out the shapes from the pieces of paper before tracing it onto foam and cutting it out. This took me so long. I don't know why this took me so long. This took me 5 days. Anywho, so this is one of the pieces that I finished on the first day. So I tried to give it more dimension where I had so in total this was 6 layers. So the middle 4 layers were about like half a centimeter longer than the other 2 that go on the top and bottom, just to give it like kind of like a sharper edge. I didn't want it to be like a flat block.
It is the next day. I finished the blade part. Or kind of. I didn't glue this part yet. There is a chunk missing. Nice.
So I don't have footage of me cutting out the rest, but I do have a video of me explaining what I did.
It be 8 p.m. Still have not glued this, but I cut these pieces out from that. I only did 2 layers of these though, because I'm not sure how to get the details onto this. I be confused right now.
And so just like every other project I've ever done, I did absolutely no planning, and just started cutting out the pieces from the template. So I started on the side wing things. So to make it more 3-dimensional, I cut out a smaller piece and I folded it in half and scored it along the line to make it like crease so it could puff up more and not just lay flat on the handle. And to attach the pieces together, so I actually saw a TikTok before I started where someone's claymore fell off of the handle, and I'm making this for a friend, and so I didn't want that to happen. And so to connect it, I taped the pieces together, but I also glued it just in case, so it doesn't fall off the handle. As for the other pieces, I also didn't want them to lay completely flat on the claymore. Like, I wanted there to be some sense of dimension and not have it look like it's entirely made out of foam. And so I cut out each like tiny piece from the template and I just rounded all the edges just to like, I don't know, I just didn't want it to be just sharp 90-degree edges.
So it is 10:25 p.m. I did not work on the claymore at all today, because I had a side quest. I took one look at my shelf and I was like, I need the staircase shelf thingy. And so, I made it, but what took me so long was I made it Kave themed. Yes. That was my side quest.
So off camera, I finished cutting out some more pieces for the top part of the claymore, and I also connected the pieces together with the stick. So I basically had to cut 1.5 inches from the center of all the pieces so I can put the stick in, and then the like top and bottom pieces, I just stuck them on top to hide the stick. It does sound pretty scuffed, but I can safely tell you it did not fall off the handle. That was the goal. So something interesting that I found while making this was that since foam stretches, especially when you're cutting with an X-Acto knife, I found that you get more accurate shapes if you pin all the corners down, which is what I'm doing here. It's quite helpful. Very useful. 10/10 would recommend. To be honest, I'm surprised by how much patience I actually had while making this, because cutting out the pieces for the top part of the claymore took me so much time and just patience and just being very careful with cutting and trimming the pieces. This part alone probably took me 3 days to cut everything out.
I am done. I finished the little handle top thingy, whatever this is, and the blade. All I have to do is paint it now. But this do be the state of my room. Look at all that. I'm going to sort out the bigger pieces and stick it in there, and then get rid of the smaller pieces. Yup. I'm done with the main part.
So painting the claymore, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Just mix the right colors, paint the correct places. But my friend did let me borrow her black gesso, which was really helpful with covering the foam, especially how brightly colored they are. I had to go over it with the gesso probably 3 times before I started painting. This did take me quite a bit of effort, mainly because of how big it is and how small my space is. So here I'm experimenting on how to make scratch marks in the foam, mainly because on Diluc's claymore it looks like there's scratches on the blade, though whenever I look at other cosplay weapons for his claymore, it never looks like scratches. Like, it's always protruding outward. But since I was given creative freedom, I wanted to make it look like scratch marks. I mean, he already chipped his claymore. Might as well fully commit to the idea that he has a scuffed blade on his claymore. So from the results of my experimenting, I chose to use an X-Acto knife to make lines in the foam before using sandpaper to sand down some of the edges. I found that it makes it look like actual scratch marks and not just me ruining all my hard work. So after I made the scratch marks, I just painted the rest of the claymore. There's nothing really much I can say for this part, so this will just be a time lapse of me painting the claymore. Oof, never mind. My camera died halfway through. So I finished painting one side of the claymore, and so here's a video of the finished one side of the claymore, but you will see me paint the other side of the claymore. So for the thin line detail on the blade, I freestyled it because at this point I was very tired of looking at this claymore, and also I don't trust myself with a paintbrush and pen with how thin the lines are, so I just went over it with a red Sharpie. So something that I forgot to get on camera was that if you look at the pieces, you would see that the edges are a bit darker. So my goal was to make it look old, like it's used. And so I just took old eyeshadow palettes and I just dusted some eyeshadow onto each piece. Yep, and so this is the final result. And this is my friend with it, with her cosplay. I think it was pretty successful. Yep.